In your career, there are moments when you are asked a question that you don't know the answer to. It could be a meeting, an interview, a panel, a boardroom, or an investor call. In that moment, what you say next matters more than the answer itself. Most people don't struggle because of intelligence. They struggle because the moment feels like a test. So they do one of four things. They ramble, hoping the answer appears while they talk. They over explain, adding details nobody asked for. They guess, trying to sound confident. Or they say, I don't know, and stop. And the room gets uncomfortable. Not because you didn't know the answer, but because for a moment the conversation lost direction. I have seen these moments play out many times. I'm someone. I started as a software engineer, and over time, I became deeply interested in how businesses actually work, especially how decisions and communications change as responsibility increases. And this moment, not knowing the answer, shows up everywhere. The interesting thing is, this situation is very common, but experienced leaders handle it very differently. There's actually a simple structure behind how they respond. And once you see it, you start noticing it everywhere. And here's the shift that works at the senior level. Most people think moments like this are about knowledge. They are not. They are about control. When someone asks you a question that you don't know the answer to, the real risk is not ignorance. The risk is losing direction. At senior levels, people are not listening for the certainty in the answer. They are listening for steadiness in the thinking. Certainty matters. It doesn't have to arrive immediately. That is why CEOs separate uncertainty from authority. Uncertainty is normal. It's just an information gap. Authority is non negotiable. It's responsibility for direction. You can acknowledge uncertainty without giving up control. And when you do, the room stays calm because someone is clearly owning what happens next. And when you listen closely to how CEOs answer questions they don't yet have answers to, you will notice a clear pattern. They do three things, and sequence matters. Step 1 is context. This is where experienced leaders start. Not with opinions, not with guesses, but with reality. They frame what is known before addressing what is not. You will often hear them say, based on what we know right now, that one sentence does a lot of work. It tells the room this is not speculation. It tells them this is grounded in facts. And it signals that the situation is being handled calmly. Context narrows the conversation, stops people from jumping ahead. It prevents unnecessary panic and it keeps everyone aligned on the same ground. Without context, every answer feels uncertain. With context, even uncertainty feels controlled. Context is not about giving details, it's about setting boundaries. This is what we know, this is what we don't, and this is where we are starting from. That's why context always comes first. Once context is set, next move is direction. This is where many people hesitate. They think direction requires certainty. It doesn't. Direction is about focus. After framing what is known, senior leaders shift the room's attention. They don't list possibilities, they don't think out loud. They say something like, The key thing we are focused on is that sentence does something important. It tells people what matters right now. It prevents conversation from spreading in 10 different directions. And it reassures the room that someone is thinking clearly. Direction is not a detailed plan, it's a priority. It answers the unspoken question everyone is asking. What should we care about right now? When the direction is clear, people relax. Because even if the answer isn't complete, the thinking is. Once direction is clear, there is one final move. The next step. This is where uncertainty stops feeling uncomfortable because now people know what happens next. Senior leaders don't end answers without closing the loop. They don't leave the room wondering. They say something like, I'll confirm the details and come back with a clear answer. That sentence does two things. First, it assigns ownership. Second, it sets expectation. You are not avoiding the question. You are saying, I own this, and here's what happened next. This is where trust is built, not by pretending to know, but by being clear about follow through. A next step turns uncertainty into momentum. Without it, conversation drift. With it, things move forward. People don't expect leaders to have every answer. They expect leaders to make sure an answer arrives. When you do these three things, something important happens. You still don't know the answer, but the room no longer experiences uncertainty because people don't judge competence by instant knowledge. They judge it by whether someone is clearly in control of what happens next. Let me make this concrete. Example 1. Someone asks, can we scale this next quarter? A common response sounds like this. I think so. We are still testing. There are a few dependencies. We will have to see. Nothing incorrect was said. But notice what is missing. No framing, no direction, no next step. Now listen to a senior response. Based on what we know right now, the system handles current demand reliably. The key focus is stability before scaling. I will review the latest performance data and confirm the timeline this week. Same honesty, completely different effect. This is the second example. Someone asks, why did revenue dip last month? Common response jumps straight into the explanation. It could be seasonality. Marketing spend was lower. We also had fewer promotions. We are still looking into it. Now listen to a senior response. Based on early data, the dip is concentrated in one segment. Our priority is improving retention there. I will validate the numbers and share the actions we are taking by Friday. The problem is still real, but the conversation is now anchored. This is the third example. Someone asks, is this caused by the database or the API? A common response sounds like this. It might be the database, but the API had changes recently. We are still checking logs. It is hard to say right now. That answer is honest, but it leaves everyone waiting. Now listen to a senior response. Based on current logs, we know where the failure is occurring. The immediate priority is restoring service. I will confirm the root cause after the incident review and share it with the team. Again, the pattern holds. Context, direction, next step. Every time. This works for a simple reason. People don't expect certainty, they expect steadiness. Trust doesn't come from knowing everything, it comes from knowing nothing important is being ignored. Let me be clear, this is not avoidance, this is not polish, this is not pretending, this is responsibility. If you say, I will follow up, you have to follow up. That's what turns calm communication into credibility. The goal is not to avoid saying, I don't know. The goal is to never leave the conversation without direction. So here's the takeaway. Confidence is not knowing everything, it is knowing what happens next. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. See you soon.